Welcome everyone to the Town of Greater Napanee regular session of council for the 8th day of July 2025. Just before we get going here, just want to remind everyone that this evening's meeting is going to be live streamed via our YouTube channel. So welcome to the folks that are at home, welcome to the folks that are here in council chambers, and welcome to those folks that will be watching either tomorrow, the next day, next week, next year. So having said that, we'll call the meeting to order and we'll open the meeting with our opening proceedings, which is the playing of national anthem. So I'll ask everyone in the council chambers to stand and face the flag, please. Thanks, folks. And we'll start the meeting off with the adoption of our agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Pennell, seconded by Councillor Hicks. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Look for, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Seeing none. First up this evening, we've got a presentation. And the presentation is the East Lennox and Addington OPP Detachment Board Annual Report. And we have Miss Jessica Jones here to present that report. So come on up, Jessica. And I know you've not been here before, but we'll give you the Reader's Digest version of what's going to happen is that when you get in and get settled, there's a microphone that's in front of you. And on the right-hand side, there's a button that says talk. You actually have to push and hold that button. And if you push and hold the button, everybody in the computer world is going to be able to hear you. And I know they're going to want to hear what you have to say. And then when you're done talking, just release the button. So, and we'll let you know if they can't hear you, because then all of a sudden our phones start going off saying, I can't hear what Jessica has to say. So welcome to our council chambers. And whenever you're ready, the floor will be yours.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Hello, council and attendees. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to attend and present to you the East Lennox and Addington OPP Detachment Board's 2024 board report. I just want to ensure all members have received a copy of the report. Great, good. Just as a small introduction, my name is Jessica Jones, and I am the community appointed representative for Loyalist and Greater Napanee for the East Lennox and Addington OPP Detachment Board. I've resided in and been fortunate and proud to call Bath home for the last 14 years. So I'm really excited to be able to participate in something that helps my community. I do have a quick message from our chair and your councillor, Bob Norrie. He just wanted to apologize for being unavailable to attend with Jessica. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for your full cooperation and support of the new OPP Police Board. He mentions he has returned from a few conferences and learned that due to the support of allowing Anne to be our secretary and treasury that we're miles ahead of the majority of the newly formed OPP boards. Jessica is one of our citizen volunteers who has stepped up to the task, and I hope you enjoy the presentation. Thank you again, Bob Norrie. Okay, so just as a way of background, on April 1st, 2024, the Police Services Act, which most of you would be familiar with, was replaced by the new Community Safety and Policing Act. In the midst of a few hundred new sections and recommendations spearheaded by the Inspectorate of Policing, there was the implementation of OPP detachment boards. These boards have been put in place to concentrate on transparency, accountability, and communication between the communities and municipalities that the provincial police force services. I'm going to go over the report just kind of page by page so you can follow along. And after each section, just kind of inquire if there's any questions so that we can keep it up to date, if that's okay. Okay, so we will start on page 1 with the mandate of the East Lennox and Addington OPP Detachment Board. The East Lennox and Addington OPP Detachment Board, hereafter referred to as the board, provides guidance and advice to the Ontario Provincial Police Detachment Commander regarding policing services to communities of Addington Highlands Township, Town of Greater Napanee, Loyalist Township, and Stone Mills Township. In the context of the Community Safety and Policing Act, hereafter the Act, the Detachment Board works collaboratively with the Detachment Commander to ensure that the strategic priorities and initiatives of the OPP reflect the goals of community safety, transparency, and accountability. The Board's guidance is critical in navigating the evolving landscape of the policing regulations and fostering positive relationships between the OPP and the community. Reporting requirements. So Section 68 sub 1 of the Act outlines reporting requirements and states the OPP Detachment Board shall, on or before June 30th in each year, provide an annual report to the municipalities and band councils regarding the policing provided by the detachment in their municipalities or First Nation reserves. This report has been prepared to satisfy the requirement of the Act for this board. Any questions about the mandate?
No, I don't think so. So continue on, Jess. Thanks.
Wonderful, thank you. 2024 board activities. So our governance. The East Lennox and Addington OPP Detachment Board is composed of 1 elected official from each of the 4 municipalities, 1 to jointly represent the communities of Addington Highlands Township and Stone Mills Township, and 1 to jointly represent the communities of the Town of Greater Napanee and Loyalist Township. 1 member appointed by the minister through the Public Appointments Secretariat. At this time, we actually don't have that member yet. I don't have a timeline on when we would have them, but I know that we are expecting an additional member to the board in the near future. The current members that make up the board. So the recruitment of the board occurred in June 2024 with the following 6 members appointed. Addington Highlands Council Representative Reeve Henry Hogg, Greater Napanee Council Representative Councillor Bob Norrie, Loyalist Council Representative Mayor Jim Hagedorn, Stone Mills Council Representative Councillor Sherry Milligan, Addington Highlands and Stone Mills Community Appointee Tina Marie Chamberlain, and Loyalist and Greater Napanee Community Appointee myself, Jessica Jones, and of course the provincial appointee is to be determined. Board bylaws and policies. So the following bylaws were established by the board in 2024, and I just want to preface this by saying, of course, our board did just come into effect in the middle of 2024, and as I was mentioning that Bob had said, we are leaps and bounds ahead of most other boards, but of course with only a half a year to have accomplished what we have. The following bylaws were established by the board in 2024. Bylaw 2025-1, a bylaw to name the East Lennox and Addington OPP Detachment Board, the naming of our board. At this time, the board is developing its procedural bylaw, a bylaw to govern the conduct, duties, and responsibilities of its members and the calling of meetings. The following policies were established by the board to date. 1-2024, abuse, discrimination, harassment, and violence policy. 2-2025, the remuneration policy. Training of the board. So the following prescribed training modules were completed by all 6 appointed members and the board secretary treasurer, Anne. The training modules were developed by the Ministry of the Solicitor General for the purpose of meeting Section 35, Sub 2 of the Act. We did training in police governance, policing in Ontario, roles and responsibilities of OPP detachment boards, board member appointments, training requirements, code of conduct, and conflicts of interest. Meetings. The board held its inaugural meeting on November 14th, 2024. All meeting records are available at the link that's provided in the report. The 2025 board meeting schedule is as follows. We had one in the end of January, one in the end of April. We have one July 31st and one in October with the exact date to be determined. The board did agree to rotate the location of the meetings just to accommodate everyone in all the different municipalities. Any questions about anything so far?
No, I think we're following along fairly well, so go ahead.
Thank you. Board support. The board receives staff support from the Loyalist Township Municipal Clerk at this time. And I always like to point out, just given that this is broadcasted, we always like to give a shout out to Anne and Jillian as well. Anne has been absolutely instrumental in getting us on our feet and making sure we had everything that we needed to be as productive as we are. So I always like to make sure that she's recognized for that. Board budget. Section 71 of the Act requires the board to prepare estimates of the total amount that will be required to pay the expenses of the board's operation, other than the remuneration of board members. The Act requires the board to submit the estimates to every municipality that receives policing from the board, along with a statement of the municipality's share of the costs. Each municipality in the area for which the board has responsibility shall pay to the OPP Detachment Board an equal share of the amount set out in the board's estimates unless otherwise unanimously agreed upon. At its meeting held on November 14th, 2024, the board approved its 2025 budget, and a copy of which is attached as Appendix A in your report. The approved budget was shared with the municipalities on November 20th, 2024 to incorporate into their municipal budgets. In the report, I've also added some resources, just if you want to look for more information on the new Community Safety and Policing Act, as well as the link for the Ontario Provincial Police, and also the Ontario's Inspector of Policing, who's been the driving force behind this new act. And their website's wonderful. They have a lot of information on recommendations, and it's updated quite frequently. So if you want to follow up on anything, that's a wonderful place to start. You'll see in the report we also have a spot for detachment activities. Just given that the board was kind of put together midway through the year, we tried to just extend a little bit of grace to the OPP in getting the report in, and I know the procedure for them has changed as well in getting that report approved and being able to distribute. So we don't have that quite yet, but once we do and it's all been approved by them for distribution, it will be provided to the municipalities. And that is it for the report.
Great. Thanks, Jessica. Just hang tight. We'll see if we have any questions, but thank you for the detailed report. And it sounds like things are moving along very well. And I think we all expect that over the course of time, it's, things you're going to refine. It's going to get better and better and better. I mean, I look at the fact that it took better part of 5 years to enact the Community Safety or the new Police Act. Anyways, it used to be the Police Act when I knew it, but it took them 5 years to get there. So we understand that nothing's going to happen overnight. So, but thank you for the detailed presentation. We'll see if anybody has any questions. No, doesn't look like it. So thank you again. And we're going to wish Bob well. I know that we're going to see him probably in the next couple of 3 days, or he will see us in the next couple or 3 days. And thank you for being here. We're going to have a conversation about some policing stuff a little later on, so you're more than welcome to stick around. And if not, then obviously you can go home and watch it on TV. So thanks again.
Thank you very much for having me. And I will be leaving, but I'm definitely going to catch it on YouTube afterwards to make my notes and be able to communicate to the board members.
Perfect. Thanks again. Look for a motion to note and receive the presentation of Jessica Jessica Jones, with respect to the East Lennox and Addington OPP Detachment Board Annual Report, moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Next up, we have the deputation portion of our meeting, and we do have a scheduled deputation with respect to new items, the Greater Napanee Connect Veteran Crosswalk. And I know that we've heard about it in the past, and we have Tiffany Lloyd here to give us an update as to how things are going. So welcome, Tiffany. I know that you probably understand the system here, so whenever you're ready, the floor will be yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will keep it brief because we've spoken about this a number of times. As you know, in May, we organized the fire truck pull to raise funds and broad community support for a veterans crosswalk. I do want to thank Mayor Richardson for serving as judge at the fundraiser, the town staff for their amazing support with the road closure, the fire department for everything they did, least of which was the use of the truck. The Legion for hosting the barbecue and lending their full support, volunteers, teams, sponsors, community members, everybody who came together to make this a reality. And we are finally here. And so I am asking for approval for the installment of the Veterans Memorial Crosswalk at the bottom of John Street, directly in front of the Legion. I believe the original photo I sent in with the letter is very, very similar to the sort of the final stencils that we obtained, which I believe were sent to you as well. So that is the design that the Legion has chosen to go with, and so I'm hoping to have your approval on this.
Great, just hang tight, Tiffany. We'll see if we have any questions or comments from council. Council, is there any questions or comments with respect to Tiffany's presentation and, of course, the magnificent looking crosswalk that I suspect is going to be gracing our sidewalk or our streets down by the Legion? Go ahead, Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks, Tiffany, for organizing all of this. It's great. Is the crosswalk going from the east, and it's east and west across John Street? It's not going over to the Legion? Okay.
That is correct.
That's what I saw in the drawing. I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't an error. Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
Yep, great. Thanks, Ange. Is there any other questions or comment? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Calvert.
Thank you, through your worship. I just want to say thank you, Tiffany, for all the effort you've put in to get this far, and great work. I know it's been an uphill battle for you, and I just want to say you did a fantastic job setting this up and organizing it. I love the design.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Deputy Mayor Calvert. Go ahead, Councillor Pennell.
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Tiffany, that's great design. Thank you very much for all your help on this and your work on it. When's the installation date?
It can be installed as soon as we have approval from council. It is Online Kingston who does. Oh, I'm so sorry. Online Kingston who does the painting of any crosswalk that we do, and they will coordinate with town staff as far as an exact date. But it's ready to go as soon as we have approval.
Great, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Pennell. Is there anything else? Oh, seeing none. Thanks, Tiffany. Normally we wouldn't authorize things like this at deputations, but I think we can sort of authorize this in principle. I'm hearing that everyone is in support of it, and I think what we'll do is we'll look for a motion to authorize it in principle, but to work with staff. We just want to make sure that everything is, all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And I'm sure that you've probably already worked with staff and you've already dotted all the I's and T's have already been crossed. So I'm sure it should be a very, very quick process. But if council is good with that, yeah, we'll look for a motion to note and receive the deputation from Greater Napanee Connect regarding a veteran crosswalk, and further that council directs staff to review the proposed crosswalk design for compliance and all applicable policies and procedures and report back to council for final approval upon this request. And I suspect that, Madam Clerk, that most of this has been done, so we could probably authorize it at our next council meeting.
Through your worship, absolutely. We should be able to get that to you by the next meeting. I know Tiffany's already been in contact with staff about the design and everything. Just a procedural thing with deputations.
So probably see on the 22nd. But I think it's a great idea. I think it's going to look magnificent in the location. I think he did a nice job of picking the location, and it's refreshing to see the municipality and the community come together for something like this. And other than a little bit of rain, it was a great day at the fire truck pull. So, but I guess that's part of it, right? So it turned out well. The hamburgers were good. I had one of them, and it was all good. So thanks, Tiffany, for spearheading this. Thank you for what you're doing with your new nonprofit. And I suspect that we'll see you on the 22nd, and you could probably start painting on the 23rd. So
Perfect. Thank you so much.
great. Thanks. No, we haven't got to move our secretary yet. Moved by Deputy Mayor Carver, seconded by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks again, Tiffany. Deputations, items on the agenda. I don't believe we have any. Correspondence items on the agenda. I don't believe we have any. I don't believe there's any unfinished business, which means we'll jump right into the administrative consent agenda. So we'll start with council minutes, regular session of council, June 24th, 2025, special session of council, June 26th, 2025. Is there anything in those minutes that anyone would like to ask any questions or comment about? Seeing none. Committee minutes, Recreation Advisory Committee, Waste Diversion Advisory, and the Heritage Advisory Committee. Is there anything in those committee minutes that anyone would like to ask any questions? And with respect to the representatives from council, is there anything that you would like to highlight in any of those minutes? So we'll start with the Recreation Committee, move to the Waste Diversion Committee, and then the Heritage Committee. So Recreation Advisory Committee is Deputy Mayor Carver.
Yeah, nothing more to add than the report. We're getting a few things underway finally, and everything's going good.
Great, thanks, Brian. Waste Diversion Committee, I think that's you, Bill, if I'm not mistaken. Is there anything you'd like to highlight on that?
Yeah, no, report pretty much speaks for itself. We were just reviewing the Blue Box program in the last committee meeting, so that was basically what went on with that. And the Heritage meeting, basically the report speaks for itself too, so we're good on both.
Perfect. It sounds like everything's going well, at least according to the minutes, so that's refreshing. So is there any questions or comments? If not, we'll move on to correspondence for information items dated July 8th, 2025. Is there anything in those information items that anyone would like to speak to? Seeing none. Boards and Advisory Committees monthly report for July of 2025. Is there anything in that report that anyone had any questions or comments about? Seeing none. Executive Services OPP funding review report. Is there anything in that report that anyone would like to make comment about? And I know, Mr. Grant, I think that's your report. Did anybody have any questions? I'd like to make a few comments, but if I'll open up to council first. Nope, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Grant, for this review. I know that we're in the process of a billing model that the province has promised to us in the fall, and I'm sure they will provide that to us, a new billing model for the OPP. Obviously, there's 444 municipalities, I think, in wait to see how they can get their budgets done because a little bit of uncertainty. But I have confidence in the Solicitor General's office to make sure that we've got that in a timely manner, and we're hoping that it's going to be profitable. But I did see in the report, Mr. Grant, we're talking about, I think the funding will resolve itself through the new billing process, but I see we do have some concerns with the manpower issue. And I would just like to sort of follow up on that. If you could comment on that, because like I say, the money is one thing, but it's ensuring that we have enough folks at that detachment to do the job that we need to do. And knowing the Napanee detachment as well as I do, I think, being a host detachment, there can sometimes be some drains on that detachment because it's a big detachment. It's centrally located to a lot of other municipalities around us. And I don't begrudge using any type of a assistance program where if somebody needs some help, the men and women go to give them some help. But that also draws on the resources for our municipality. And I just like to ensure that at some point our local detachment is got the people they need to do the job that they have to do. But go ahead, Mr. Grant.
So thank you, Your Worship, and through you, Mr. Mayor, to members of council. So in addition to reaching out to the Solicitor General, expressing, re-expressing our concerns over surprise budgetary increases of $900,000, the unpredictability of the model, call for service model being difficult to budget for, and the like. I did reach out to the detachment commander to express my concerns about the level of resourcing the detachment has and the draws upon those resources for policing, I would say, duties that are adjacent to policing Greater Napanee and Lennox and Addington County more generally. So the specific areas of I concerned is the number of staff that the detachment has, and I'm not sure they're adequately resourced. Particularly since there's a large draw on the detachment to the 401 corridor. Tremendous amount of resources going there, and a long way. They go a long way. Consistent use of the police service for the correctional center and the courts. And there's been, it's been conveyed to me, and I've expressed my concern to the detachment commander that they are regularly called out to a community outside of Lennox and Addington that has their own police force. But they are regularly called out to police that community, which pulls resources from our community for which we are funding. And so I have sent a letter to the detachment commander to express my concern and ask for some answers to that. And it's my intention to bring, the answers to those inquiries back to council. But I would be remiss if I didn't reach out to the detachment commander with those concerns.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Grant. And I think we've got the benefit of having the chair of the Police Services Board, which we just heard is actually from our municipality, part of our council. So Bob, if you're watching, we may be bending your ear in the not too distant future as well to see what help, if any, you can provide for that. But, the men and women of our local detachment do a heck of a job. I know that they're probably getting pulled in more directions than any of us really know. And, I just don't think it's fair that if they need some help, we should be sort of on board to try and help get them some help. So I've said the piece that I had to say. Is there anything else anyone else would like to comment with respect to either Mr. Grant's presentation or his report or anything that I had to say? Go ahead, Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. And I don't expect that this question can maybe be answered tonight, but I am curious with the expansion at Quinte Detention Center. And I think Michael may be able to correct me if I get this wrong, for an additional 66 beds. Is that correct? Okay. Who makes the provision for the additional staffing for the detachment to cover those additional beds? Because if we're getting X number of calls now for the beds already established, when you add in 66 more and then more transportation, and are we expected to cover that? I have a hard time. I have a hard time with this, just in general, because this is not a taxpayer who is calling on the police. This is the province, if you will, calling on the police, and I think the province should be responsible for footing that portion of the police services in Lennox and Addington County. So that's my thoughts on that. Thank you.
And I'll weigh in briefly, Ange, in the fact that I had the opportunity to sit in on a webinar with respect to that very thing. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to sit on the East Region one, but I sat in on the West Region one. But it was kind of neat because there was a lot of other municipalities that weren't in West Region that also sat in on that. And I heard an extremely lot of the very same things that we've discussed here about policing jails, policing highways, policing hospitals, policing courts. It was really neat because you listen to folks that are in Fort Francis, and you'd swear that you were listening to folks that were in Napanee, and these are elected officials. So I thank the province for offering up that opportunity to basically to all 444 municipalities in the province. And I suspect, at least from the hour and a half that I spent on the Zoom call, I heard the exact same thing that we at this council table have talked about. So I suspect that our partners at the province have probably are hearing that and listening to it. We'll see where the billing process falls. I'm hopeful that they're going to take into account what they heard through these webinars, and hopefully it'll be reflected in the billing process. But the money is one thing, but the other thing is to make sure we got the right appropriate number of people to do the job that we need to do, and hopefully we can get some answers on that as well. So. Go ahead, Mr. Grant.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, just to add to that. So Councillor Hicks, I can confirm and will remind council that the mayor and I did attend Roma conference not that long ago, and the mayor expressed those very concerns directly to the Solicitor General. And with respect to greater draws on the capacity of the local detachment, that is one of the reasons I reached out to the detachment commander.
Thank you. I just needed to voice, just for my own peace of mind, voice the concern and just remind everyone that this is top of mind for all of us, I think. So thank you.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Councillor Hicks. Is there anything else before we move on? Seeing none, the next one is the Executive Services Use of Artificial Intelligence Management Directive. Is there anything in that report anyone has any questions or comments about? And I believe Mr. Grant may have written that one as well. So go ahead, Deputy Mayor Calvert.
Yeah, just first of all, I'm not a fan of AI reporting. Like humans actually doing things. So please, ensure me that we're going to actually have humans looking things over before we go too far with this AI stuff, because we've got a lot of things on the roll here in this community that need to be kept hands-on, and I don't want to get out of control with I don't know, there's Siri or whatever it is out there in this AI world. But we're concerned so much about our equipment and so on and so forth with traveling, but yet we're going to open up to let AI, wherever part of the world that comes from, start doing things for us. We just want to be very cautious on that. Thank you.
Yep, thanks, Deputy Mayor Calvert. Go ahead, Mr. Grant.
So thank you, and through your worship. So I would say to the Deputy Mayor, I agree with you. We want to be cautious. I would liken the arrival of artificial intelligence as a big an impact on society as the internet. Like, it's going to be that big. And this is already embedded in software and cell phones and the like. And what I thought was responsible was to make clear expectations to staff. One, that it will not be used for decision making. That to your point, Mr. Deputy Mayor, that human beings are making those decisions. It is a labor saving device. Used for things like research. You could use it for, say, scheduling meetings where normally you might have to spend 5 or 10 minutes trying to figure out when people are free. It can do it in about 15 seconds. It can collate research for you, but still requires human beings to look at that, human beings to write reports, use their judgment. The other thing it talks about is the expectation around which AI models you can use. So there are some models that have better protection of privacy than others. In this case, the administrative directive calls for the use of Copilot, which we have now, a model called Trax and GovAI. None of those things take information you enter into it and filter it into what's called the learning model that might spit that information out somewhere else. And the other is the expectation that there is no confidential information that will ever be entered into AI at this point in time. And so in the absence of expectations and the proliferation of this technology, I thought it was important to ensure that staff were aware of what the expectations are, how to use it safely, and what we should and should not be doing with it.
I have no doubt you'll have your hand all over this. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Calvert, and thank you, Mr. Grant. Is there anything else before we move on? Seeing none, I'll just briefly, it's extremely exciting and horribly terrifying all in the same breath. So, let's see where it goes, but I bet I agree, you know, the positives I think will outweigh the negatives if properly managed. So thank you, Mr. Grant, for doing that. Next up is executive services promotional items. Is there anything in that report that anyone had any questions, comments, or concerns about? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Calvert.
Thank you, through your worship. I guess, yeah, there was a line item at some point in the budget. Now it's gone out. Instead of creating a new line item in the budget for this, is this something that we could take? We're not talking a lot of dollars here. Is this something we could just take off of council training, or is there enough funding? Because I don't think we're using all of our training allowance. I see.
Yeah, Madam Clerk, I think is going to comment. So
Yeah,
go ahead,
perfect.
Madam Clerk.
So through your worship, it is staff's intention that the purchase that's made this year, just to make sure that we don't run out, is offset by other savings within the overall council expenses budget. We think between training and a few other areas, meeting expenses are a little lower this year than normal, and there should not be, and there will not be any impact. It'll be offset enough. The question was just, and this can be closer to budget that it is decided, but whether there needed to be a dedicated line item for that so that it's not something that we're trying to rob out of other accounts when it comes up after 10 years that we need to replenish stock on things.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Deputy Mayor Calvert. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councillor Hicks.
Thank you through your worship. And this has just occurred to me. So can this not be grouped in with, and I know, for instance, the men and women that work for the Parks Department and are wearing a Town of Greater Napanee t-shirt or windbreaker if it's raining, those aren't considered promotional items, but they are a brand. It's a branded item related to the town. So could these pins not fall under that category? And if it's required, I know that each department, Public Works has them, utilities, well, utilities being a separate budget, but parks, arena staff, et cetera. Is there a way to put this so that it's there? If it doesn't get used, it doesn't get used. I don't think if we're buying 2,000 now, it has to be part of the 2026 budget. It doesn't make sense that we're going to order 2,000 pins every year. So it's just a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Grant.
So thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Short answer is we can do whatever council would like us to do. I would say for this, the difference between things that the Parks Department might be wearing or those sorts of things, it would be my, and this falls under the visual identity policy that council has passed, that, you know, staff uniforms and the like would be part of regular business. Things like, say, water bottles, windbreakers, umbrellas, things that would be more promotional in nature, I would say would fall under something more akin to an ambassador program. So the pins themselves would be not necessarily for town business, but for town promotional purposes. It's not unheard of for members of council to be able to have things that they're able to hand out representations of the town. I would say that I think it should have its own line item. It doesn't necessarily just have to be pins or other things. And it might be something that, look, you know, we buy this many every couple of years. One is it provides a clear line item for that purpose. And two, it makes clear to, you know, others in the corporation that this is where promotional items live and the other items don't live there.
Yep, go ahead, Ange.
And this is purely from an aesthetic point of view, but is it possible to go down to the 1 inch as opposed to the 1 1/8 of an inch? Because the pins are quite heavy. So, and I've noticed this myself when I put it on, for instance, something like this, if I'm wearing it as a representative of Greater Napanee, they're heavy. They're very heavy. So could we make them just a bit smaller, which would in turn make them a bit lighter? Just a thought. And of course, cheaper per the quote.
Mr. Grant.
Small one there.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Counselor Hicks. Is there anything else? Seeing none, bear with me. So we'll look for a motion that council consent to the approval of following routine items: the minutes of the regular session of council dated June 24, 2025, and the special session of council dated June 26, 2025 be adopted as presented, that the draft Recreation, Waste Diversion, and Heritage Advisory Committee minutes of June 17th to 19th, 2025 be received for information, that the correspondence for information items dated July 8th, 2025 be received, the council receive for information the boards and advisory committees monthly report for July 2025, that council receive for information the executive services OPP funding review update, that council receive for information the executive services use of artificial intelligence management director report, and that council receive for information the executive services promotional items report, and further that council recommend that the mayor incorporate a dedicated budget line for council promotional items as part of the 2026 budget. Moved by Councillor Hicks, seconded by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? The motion's carried. On to items for consideration. First up is the Market Square Advisory Committee recommendation pre-design open house. I see Mr. Brown's coming towards the front. So Chris, whenever you get settled in and ready, the floor will be yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick recommendation from the Market Square Advisory Committee. We're just looking for council support for the Market Square Advisory Committee to host a pre-design open house at Town Hall on Wednesday, July 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. to gather community feedback on the main floor renovation. We're looking for the community to provide feedback to our committee so that we can start to map out some design ideas, talk about different uses for the space, talk about fee structures, and things of that nature. One of the committee mandate items is to gather community input by designing and carrying out consultation efforts. Very minimal operational implications. We will have a staff member here that evening, opening the doors, welcoming people, and sending them into the committee members to provide their feedback, and then locking up at the end of the night. Also, there'll be a little bit of work to help promote the open house that's happening just through our online channels. Happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks, Chris. Is there any questions for Chris? And I'll let Dave, I know that's part of your committee. Did you have any comments or any questions or statements you'd like to make before we open up the floor?
Thank you, Worship. I did. I had a bunch written down, but Chris nailed it all, as always. We're just excited to do this. And as we mentioned before, with the renovations going on in this building, it is the talk of the town. And so let's invite the town. Let's find out what's going on in their minds, the residents, as it is their building. So come on in here and give us some ideas. And the town does like a survey, so we'll give them a survey to fill out and see what we can get some consensus and just give the committee an idea of what the town is thinking as well. So that's it. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Dave. Is there any other questions or comments for either Chris or Dave? Go ahead, Councillor Hicks.
Your Worship, actually, it just came to me when you said survey. Is this something that we could also post online so that people could submit just general ideas of what they envision if it's being asked on paper at the night of the open house? I'm just curious if that's a possibility.
Mr. Grant, did you want to comment on that?
Should that, through you, Mr. Mayor, should that be the will of the committee? So as part of their mandate, the committee is carrying out an item in their mandate letter as was given to them by council. And I have full confidence that the sitting council member of the Market Square Advisory Committee will bring that recommendation back.
Great, thank you,
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Is there anything else with respect to the report of the presentation that we've heard on the Market Square Advisory Committee pre-design open house? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation that council receive for information the Market Square Advisory Committee recommendation pre-design open house report, and further that council supports the Market Square Advisory Committee's recommendation to host a pre-design open house at Town Hall on July 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. to gather community feedback. Moved by Councillor Hicks, seconded by Councillor Pennell. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion's carried, and I agree with you, Dave. Town hall is always the topic of conversation. It's an exciting time for us here in the downtown core. So we're looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with the downstairs. So next up, Recreation Advisory Committee recommendation, community cleanup days. And Mr. Grant, I think you're going to speak to that.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm happy to speak to that, and I would turn things over to the sitting member of the Recreation Advisory Committee should the deputy mayor have any further comments. The recommendation that has been made by the Recreation Advisory Committee is to have 2 community cleanup days. And to have a staff member supervising those particular days, which would make them eligible, depending on how the supervision occurred, which would make them eligible for insurance under the town's volunteer insurance policy. One of those days would obviously be Earth Day. And then there was some discussion on what the other day would be. There was some talk about September 28th and World Rivers Day as a potential option, but as yet to be determined. Recommending, cleanups and the like would fall within the mandate of the Recreation Advisory Committee, and the requirement to come forward to council to ask for use of staff resources is entirely appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Is there any questions or comments of Mr. Grant? And Deputy Mayor Calvert, do you want to comment? I'll give you the first opportunity, so go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, this was something the committee was really big about, was, providing us a second cleanup day to help clean up our community and stuff. But I see the last one we ran was, it was $3,300 for the staff, the use of staff, because of 31 hours the staff had to put into it. So I don't know that that's something that's in the budget or in the go for this year, but maybe should be talked about for next year. I don't know. Like, $3,300 at the drop of a hat to bring in a second cleanup day. I think it's a great idea, but is that something that's doable?
Go ahead, Mr. Grant.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that the deputy mayor is correct. That is not something that's currently budgeted for in this year's budget. If so directed by council, we would find areas to pull that funding from. Alternatively, council could vote on the matter in principle and direct it to go towards a recommendation to the mayor for the budget process moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Councillor Pennell, and then I'll go to Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Matthew, my question, I got a couple of questions here. One is, if we run Earth Day as the volunteers sign a waiver so that we don't need to have the insurance, why could the second day not be run like that?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll invite the clerk to weigh in from an insurance perspective, should she see fit, because her knowledge and depth in this area is deeper than my own. I think that if this is something that is considered a town and not a community function, and is under our banner, then a waiver may not provide the adequate protection that one would be looking for in case people might be involved in an injury. Hold on a second here. Thank you for your patience. Sorry, I'm just getting some information that $800 of that was in direct costs for waste disposal. The rest was in indirect costs for time and equipment. Not a direct budget impact, but pulling people from other priorities and staffing levels. Thank you, Madam Clerk. But in terms of providing this beyond just a waiver and thinking of insurance, if this is something that we are looking to brand, if you will, as a municipal initiative. And we have people going out and doing things on behalf of the municipality or in our name. We should do our best to extend insurance coverage to people who are doing that, whether it be painting or doing other things. And to do that, it does require staff supervision. There is obviously a matter of discussion on what does specifically that supervision mean. If it's a waiver type program on a community effort, that would be something different. But if it's something that would be done by a committee and would be considered a town event, then insurance would be the recommendation that we have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Follow up.
Yeah, go ahead.
I strongly believe that this, if this is the case, that we should put over to budget time for sure and budget for that, much like we've been making similar decisions of when we have these asks that are not in our budget, we're asking people to hold off to that. However, that brings up later on in the agenda under bylaws, bylaw 20250055, when we look under on page 15 of the bylaw, there is a note in here for the Recreation Committee to look at and nurturing new partnerships and collaborations. And I'm wondering, would going out and finding a sponsor or a partner to donate towards this cleanup fund, would that fit under the committee? Because I don't believe that the committee should be fundraising, if that was a conversation that we had before with the pool committee. So I'm just wondering, when I read that, it kind of made me say, hey.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Pennell. So I agree that committee should not be out fundraising and not fundraising in our name. It is within the mandate of the Recreation Advisory Committee to recommend various types of partnerships that the town may want to consider entering into to provide recreational services. So taking examples from other communities, whether it be the YMCA or Boys and Girls Club or those sorts of things, to recommend those. Having discussions with organizations to see what might be on offer, with the full understanding that anything that would be entered into in terms of an agreement or consideration would have to come to council, and that they would not be able to fundraise or enter into an agreements of any sort. That would be solely at the discretion of council. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, Councillor Pennell.
It does in a roundabout way. You know, one of the things that I was thinking of was like the Artura Fund or something like that, where that's completely community-based to providing trails and the cleanup of the trails. So it was just something that I was thinking of how far could we stretch the word of new partnerships or seeking these partnerships. So without maybe really fundraising when the funds are already there. Does that make sense too?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it does. And so I would say anything to do, I wouldn't recommend that we have any advisory committees fundraise on our behalf at any time for any reason. I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend that they give you advice on partnerships that we should enter into. And they might even recommend funding mechanisms that you may want to consider, whether it be the Artura Fund, which council will know the model of that has changed to give council the ability to invest more in community projects using those funds. So it'd be entirely appropriate for the Recreation Committee to say, we believe that this is something you should invest in with those. It would be entirely appropriate for them to recommend that council enter into a partnership for specific initiatives, give you an idea for where the funding should come from, but that should not act as agents of the town, either in looking to draft an agreement or to raise funds for that purpose.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pennell. Thank you, Mr. Grant. Councillor Hicks, I think you had your hand up.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. So, Earth Day. I recall reading that you could collect the garbage bags and I think possibly a pair of gloves from the town, and you could go out and pick up garbage. And I could do that on County Road 9. I could do it on Abrams Side Road. I could do it in front of my parents' house. it didn't have to be on town property. It was wherever I saw garbage, I could pick a spot and that's where I would go pick up garbage. And if I was under the impression that I would put that bag out with my regular collection and it would get picked up because Waste Management would know that it doesn't need a tag, the bag itself is indication enough. Now, I could be wrong on this, and if I am more than happy to be corrected. Nobody was insuring me and I didn't sign a waiver. And I was picking up garbage on the road allowance. Is that considered a town land? So that's, like, are we getting too far into the weeds, if you will? And when we're saying bin collection, so 31 staff hours for collection and disposal of litter. I don't think town trucks were going out County Road 9 and picking up these bags of garbage. I don't remember seeing a town of Greater Napanee truck picking it up and putting it in a bin, I'm assuming at the public works yard. So just for myself, I would like some clarification on that. I understand the need for insurance. If you're in town, yep, there's definitely a danger of sharps and if you're in the country, noxious weeds for sure, wild parsnip, whatever. I don't think we should be funding this year. I agree with Councillor Pennell. I think this needs to be something that's done as the budget, but I'd really like clarification on what was involved with Earth Day, like what the whole process was. Because I don't remember anybody telling me that, and how do you supervise people? Like, that's the other thing. Under supervision, I'm out on County Road 9. Do I get all my neighbors together and say, okay, there's a staff member coming and they're going to tell us what side of the road to do first? That just, I pick it up when I go out to cut the grass, actually. So on a regular basis. So I'm just curious. I'd really like more information before I say yes or no to any of this, because I think I agree with the idea and I think it's a wonderful community builder, but I think we're getting really far into we've taken something that's an initiative and now it's becoming very onerous. And I don't know if that was the intention of the Recreation Committee. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Councillor Hicks. Go ahead, Mr. Grant.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I would say the consensus of council looks as though this is something that we move towards the budget process. That we can certainly come back if a council has a motion to that effect, where we'd say this is specifically what's involved in terms of staff time traditionally to run this event. This is specifically what would meet the bar for supervision in order for us to be able to extend insurance to that effort. If something that's not a purely community event, we could bring that back so council would have more information if that is the will of council.
Great, thank you, Mr. Grant. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Gower.
Thank you, through your worship. Is this something we could use the Atura fund for? I mean, it is for the community.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to the deputy mayors, I would suggest yes. Community well-being, this would certainly fall under that. If there were the will of council to direct that through the budget process of where that's where the Artura funds that we're responsible will be directed from. But yes, I would suggest it would be.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Calver.
So you want to ask for that for the budget, or we want to hold off yet, or what do we want to do here?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I think what I heard from members of council is, and I don't mean to speak for council, but I think what I heard was we would like to get some more information to make an informed decision. What's involved with this? What does supervision mean? What exactly are we taking on? And then if it's the will of council to move this as a recommendation to the mayor to put forward to the recommended budget, because as we're aware, that is an obligation that the provincial government has placed on the mayor's shoulders. Then we could certainly do that and discuss the funding source at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Calver. Thank you, Mr. Grant. Is there anything else, any other comments or questions or concerns with respect to the presentation? And obviously we'll be looking to entertain some form of a motion. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Calver.
Would you like a motion to note and receive that report?
Okay, we'll note and receive it. Is there any other direction that you want to give staff, whether we decide that there's no changes to be made in the collection of trash until it goes to budget, or it's wide open here, so.
Okay, so note and receive this report, and I'd like to give direction to staff to take a look at putting this into next year's budget to see if we can do 2 cleanup days and look at what it would look at as far as getting things done. So we're get everybody covered, and maybe we can use the Altura fund to pick it up so it's not on the taxpayers. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Deputy Mayor Calver. Madam Clerk, do you have what you need with respect to a motion? I'll look for seconder.
So through your worship, I believe council is looking for a motion to note and receive, and then to request staff to provide more information on the logistics of the recommendation and funding options to the budget process.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Calver. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Hicks. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns with respect to the motion that's on the floor? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion that's on the floor? Opposed, the motion's carried. Scheduling of council meetings in alternate locations, this has been deferred from the 24th of June meeting. Madam Clerk, are you going to speak to this one?
So through your worship, once again, this matter is entirely in council's hands. If you would like us to move a regular meeting to a different location, we just ask that you give us advance notice of that so we can plan the agenda around it. If you'd like to plan a special meeting at an alternate location, we can also do that. If you want to have it thematically tied to any special events in communities, and if the remaining agenda schedule for this year looks a little too ambitious and we'd like to plan something ahead for 2026, that's also an option. This is something that is wholly within council's purview to determine what you would like to do.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Calver.
Thank you, through your worship. I like the idea. I love the concept. Having one in the north, one in the south, for sure. And I agree that it should be held in a building owned and controlled by the town. Just what is the cost factor to doing this? Like, I mean, I know we did the one over at Amherst Island, and there was quite a bit of a kerfuffle there. That could have been just the fact of the service on the island as well through the county. But I just want to make sure that we're not asking our staff to do a lot of extra, so to speak, to make it happen, to pick up everything and move it to one location, pick up everything, move it back to another location. I don't know the logistics and what the cost factor would be, but I do love the idea.
So if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Madam Clerk.
So through your worship, very minimal costs because it's not going to be like when we were regularly meeting in Selby and we moved all of this furniture out. It will just be uncomfortable plastic chairs and tables that are in our halls, or whatever our chairs and tables are that are in the halls. We're not planning to bring anything special out for the meetings. So there should be very, very minimal cost to do so. But not a very glamorous setup either.
No, thank you. One more thing, and
Yep, go ahead.
that's fine. I guess I was concerned about the internet capability, in to the north and the internet capability to the south. I don't know. I guess we'd be looking probably at South Fred Hall and Selby Hall, which would kind of make sense. I'm just curious about the internet capability. That's all.
And I think we'll have to, we're going to have to look into that and just discuss it just to make sure that we can do that. I see Alan's got her hand up. Go ahead, Alan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a note that was mentioned from the IT manager previously, through an emergency preparedness grant, we do have a portable Starlink device, so we were able to relocate that to those locations to aid with the internet issue. That being said, the quality of the streaming will not be the same as it is here. We expect there still to be a lower quality of video. However, there will be internet capabilities available.
Excellent. That's awesome. I forgot he did mention that, and you probably won't notice much of a difference. It's pretty quick. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Deputy Mayor Calver. Thank you, Ms. Hamill. Councillor Pennell.
Thank you, Worship, through you. My thinking is that if we hold off until next year And then we could plan around some specific significant dates. Nothing comes to my mind right now as I say that, but we can do some more research of this and plan it. And I do believe the whole idea of having these meetings, one in the north, one in the south, is to have more residents come out and have participation that way. So this would give them more notice, and if it's around a significant date or something, then that, and that would help out. And my thoughts too around the Robin Hall is I'd like to maybe look at the size of that, how many people we could actually get in there, because really the whole idea is to have people show up. A lot of people are used to watching it on YouTube now, but you know, for us just to travel to a different hall to have a meeting and have nobody show up, I think is kind of defeating the purpose. So I'd like to try to have as many residents come out for that and see us and participate. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, thanks, Dave. Is there anything else? I'll just weigh in briefly, and I'm going to agree with you, Dave. This is fact. I like the idea of special meetings, and I like the idea, and I know that at our last meeting, we spoke about the Loyalist Landing down in Adolphostown. I think that would be a great opportunity for next year to have a meeting, be it whether it's in South Fredericksburg, unless we can do something else, but probably South Fredericksburg Hall for a special meeting there. So that, I mean, that one's kind of easy, and I've been kind of racking my brains as to trying to figure out what we can do in the north. And I know that there's something there, I just haven't figured it out yet. So, but I do like the idea of planning to have these two special meetings in 2026. It's going to give us the opportunity to really not only promote it, but to have it set up and do it kind of right. So I know that there's got to be an occasion either in Selby, whether it's something to do with the twinning of Selby that we did, or Roblin to celebrate some of the history that's up in Roblin. So I think we can find something there. I mean, the South Fredericksburg one is in my humble opinion, is fairly easy, because I think the Loyalist Landing is quite an event down there. And I think it would be an extremely nice touch to have a council meeting in and around that time, a special council meeting in and around that time to celebrate that Loyalist Landing. So I really do think that this is a really good idea. It's just, I think we just got to find the right date, and maybe there just isn't one, and then we need to pick a date to make it a celebration. But I think 2026 is probably the best time to do that. So go ahead, Dave.
Thank you, Worship. I agree with you 100%. And, you know, later on, we're going to be talking about communications and stuff like that. And this would be an excellent question to put out to the residents of Ward 3 to say, hey, what are we missing here? What can we do? And give us some ideas of a date that you'd like to see us have a meeting up in Ward 3. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think that's I think that's what it's all about. And I think that would be a good idea. So if there is nothing further, we do have a possible recommendation that council receive for information, the council inquiry follow-up alternate meeting locations report, and further that council directs special meetings to be held at community halls in 2026 to showcase the broader geographic region of Greater Napanee, including at South Fredericksburg Hall in June of 2026 to highlight the annual celebration of the Loyalist Landing in Adolphostown, and at the Selby or Roblin Hall, possibly in September of 2026, always subject to change if we can find a special event. If it's in February, then we'll do it in February, right? So, but I think it's a good idea to go to the public to get their thoughts on that. So go ahead, Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, Worship. Just something to think about. 2026 is an election year. And if I were a resident, I would want to come to a meeting where council is actually doing business and we're not in lame ducks. So I think that's something that we need to keep in mind, having a council meeting somewhere, you know, in September or October. Well, not October, but September or August. So I think we want to look at the first 6 months of 2026. It was just a thought that I had. And when did they used to have Richmond Days? It's just a thought. The Selby Days, Richmond Days, that might be a time where many of the residents that live there. I know I remember a few shenanigans centered around those days, ball tournaments, etc. Just a thought.
And I agree with you. So we'll leave, maybe we can leave that open, Madam Clerk, at a date to be determined in 2026. And I think that's going to give us sufficient time to, I really think it's a special thing to try and do. And I like the idea. And so I think we should try and find the special event to do it with. So, Madam Clerk, you have what you need for the resolution or the motion? We do have a suggested motion. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Hicks. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns with respect to the motion that's on the floor? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Opposed? The motion's carried. Next matter is update to SR 945-2025 Farmers Market Operating Agreement. And Madam Clerk, are you going to speak to that?
Sure. So through your worship, this is just as an information update since the last meeting when this was presented with some additional information provided, the chamber has decided to withdraw their request for an agreement amendment at this point in time. They are going to manage their fee structure around the insurance requirement. I did just also want to use this report to bring to council's attention that because the bylaw that we brought in to regulate food trucks on municipal property, the farmers market does not neatly fall into any of the existing categories. Staff are applying an interpretation that this is a town event due to the partnership agreement that exists for the farmers market. And therefore, we will not be charging them rental fees to have a food truck there the way that we charge rental fees for the food trucks that operate out of Conservation Park on town property. However, if council disagrees with that interpretation, we would certainly welcome that. This is your bylaw and your decisions do take precedence here.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Calvert.
Thank you, through your worship. So the refreshment vehicles and food trucks, they would only be here on the Saturday of the farmer market, that they're not open. It's not a free-for-all other than just for the market. Is that correct?
Yes, so your worship, that's the other reason that we've believed that that is the most reasonable interpretation to take. The permit fee is for 150 days and the market only is running for a maximum of 15 days.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Deputy Mayor Calvert. Is there anything else? Seeing none, thank you, Madam Clerk, and I agree with you. I think that's a pretty good interpretation of that. So I thank you for presenting that to us. We do have a recommendation that council receive for information the update of SR 945-2025 Farmers Market Operating Agreement Report. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calvert, seconded by Councillor Hicks. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? The motion is carried. Executive Services Draft Corporate Communication Strategy. And Mr. Grant, you're going to speak to that. I see Kylie moving to the front as well. So welcome, Kylie.
So thank you, Your Worship. So I'm going to give a bit of a preamble to this, and then I will turn things over to the talent who puts a corporate communication strategy together. So just by way of context, much like all the members of the senior leadership team, communications also received a mandate letter from the Chief Administrative Officer. In my year and change here, in addition to bringing human resources into the CAO's office, I've done the same with communications. What I would say at a high level was that there were some challenges with how the organization had set up communications, which made it difficult for the exercise to be successful. We didn't have a lot of it was siloed in its efforts. We didn't have a lot of processes in place for no fault of staff. There was a lot of non-communications work placed on the plate of communications staff, administrative in nature or otherwise, which is not uncommon. It happens at a lot of organizations. And so what I tasked the communications office to do was to come up with a clear and predictable program of communications that fit within the resource levels that we have. We we can't sort of decide things on the fly and we can't do everything. So figuring out, here are the most important things we're going to do. Here's how we're going to teach the organization how to assist communications in delivering a final product. And council will know I'm a big fan of diagrams. In addition to the boat, I'm having a diagram of a conveyor belt created. And so picture, if you will, the way that communications works is, the whole organization is along the conveyor belt, compiling facts, compiling legislative requirements, doing approvals, all of those sorts of things, none of which the communications office will have. And at the end of that conveyor belt is communications that does packaging and distribution, right? Making sure that the information is packaged in a way that is appropriate for the audience it's intended, whether it be younger people, older people, people with English as a second language, like all of those factors to take into consideration, right tool for the right job. Because, by way of example, if you were targeting a young mothers and children's program, you wouldn't use more traditional media to target them. You would use social media, but making sure that you use those right tools. So making sure the organization understands what their obligations are to make this a corporate priority and that everyone knows what we're trying to do here. So putting that into a strategy. And so I have essentially tasked Kylie with creating a blueprint, which has been done. I am quite supportive of the final effort, and I'm going to turn things over to the talent who did all of the work to explain what it is and what comes next.
Thank you, through your worship. So what I will do is I will go over a few key points of the strategy that I think will probably be of interest to council. So the first one is just an overview of the purpose of the strategy. So the goal of the strategy is to create a clearly defined communications program that's limited while also being intentional about the items that we are communicating as an organization, given the current resources and tools that we have available. So some of the main focuses of the strategy are outlining the roles and responsibilities within the organization to ensure communications can be successful, determining the information and methods of distribution that the town will use when communicating to the public, outlining primary and secondary goals both internally and externally, outlining the tasks that we will be undertaking to reach those goals, and providing an overview of the communication support that the town provides through our partnership with the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board and to the mayor in his efforts. So the first area I kind of want to touch on is roles and responsibilities. So this section of the strategy touches on who's permitted to speak on behalf of the organization, who's responsible for providing communication staff with information for media requests. So that would mainly be subject matter experts. The responsibility of subject matter experts and the role of corporate communications, so myself, and a brief overview of the different areas and other departments and what they're responsible for to ensure that our corporate communications program can be successful. And in terms of our subject matter experts, if there are areas specific to their portfolios, they can be a spokesperson and do the interviews as that subject matter expert if it's related to their area. If it's something that relates to the corporation as a whole, that would be something that would go to the mayor, the CAO, or myself, and it would be our responsibility to speak on. And moving on to looking at our primary goals for external communications. So the main thing that we're looking to do with this strategy is to deliver a standardized corporate communications program that is consistent and predictable. So one of the things I'd like to outline in that strategy that you'll see, it's the Appendix A, is the service delivery guide. So the service delivery guide outlines all of the main things that we intend to communicate to the public and the different channels that we plan to use to do that. So all of those items in that service delivery guide are related to our core business. If it's something that's outside of our core business, we don't intend to do that, just to keep it consistent and ensure that the public knows what to expect of us when they know what we're communicating with them. And I guess I'll save questions for the end. And then looking at kind of secondary goals, so things that we want to do that will basically enhance that primary goal of creating a standardized communications program. So one of the things that we received a lot of feedback on in the community engagement consultation was the search function on our website. So we are looking to implement a function that is like a code-assisted tool that will enhance our search function to allow it to basically function better for our residents. Another thing we plan to do is develop an e-newsletter pending budget approval in 2026. So this would involve a council newsletter that gets distributed, a town like specific newsletter that gets distributed, as well as the tool could function as a way to alert residents to different service disruptions and things like that via email. Another area that we look to do as a secondary goal is integrating communications priorities into the SLT and CLT planning process. So having that be more of a topic of conversation when those senior staff are planning their work. Developing a communications policy, which will come to you, I believe, later this year. Prioritizing advertising investments that have a demonstrated ability to return on investment. So more traditional forms of media that we had used in the past, such as radio, that was it was a little bit pricey. We're going to shift more towards the methods that we can track and see if our money is being well spent. Creating a way for staff to submit requests to communications through an intake form, and then eliminating non-performing efforts such as the use of X, which we are recommending that we stop using that, both the town's account and the fire department's account, and moving Instagram as a format where we only use it to echo messaging from the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board and their efforts. And the last item I want to touch on for the secondary goals is something else we're recommending is that we turn off the comments on Facebook moving forward. It has become a place for misinformation, and it's an area where we don't see the kindest comments of residents going back and forth with each other. And we've seen some municipalities do the same thing. So we would like to follow suit if council approves. And then the last areas I just want to touch on are the appendices of the strategy. So the mayoral communication support services outlines the types of support that communications, so myself, will provide to the mayor in terms of the things that he'll receive assistance with and attending events and any support that he may need in terms of communications. And the other item is the Bay of Quinte mandate letter. So the executive director of the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board has asked for a mandate letter from the town, and this outlines Bay of Quinte's responsibilities for our partnership agreement term, as well as the town's responsibilities in working with them. And moving forward, once the strategy receives approval from council, I'll be working with each department to begin implementing the strategy, ensuring each department understands what their role is in making it successful. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Great, Kylie. Thank you very much. Is there any questions or comments for Kylie? Councillor Pennell, and then I'll go to Councillor Hicks. I think she had her hand up.
Thank you, Worship, through you. Thanks a lot for this. Thank you, Mr. Grant, for this. It's a long time coming. It's going to be fantastic moving forward. And I can see that it's going to be a work in progress for sure, but it's a really good move forward. And it's the best thing I've seen in a while regarding communications. And it's great, fantastic. In regards to turning off comments on Facebook, it's a great idea. I do see every once in a while these remarks that you talked about, Kylie, and I do see somebody from the town is commenting on them and trying to set the story straight or give good information. And I've seen that turn bad fast as well. So it's not to hide anything from people, but it's once you start to communicate with them, when you leave, then you're the bad person. So, so that I'd be in favor for. I lost my train of thought now on that one. But I think this is a good thing moving forward on that. And yeah, thanks. Good work. Okay.
Great. Thanks. Thanks, Dave. Go ahead, Ange.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. Excellent job. I commend you both. Kylie, this is great. And I would just like to say I came to Kylie at 3 minutes to 7 tonight with a little glitch that I had noticed. And it was fixed, I think, by 3 minutes after 7. So I'd just like to say that the communications team is very responsive. But regarding the comments on Facebook, I 100% support this decision. There is a reason we have the 11, the report and issue, and now that it is front and center, and I think we should consider making that front and center, like even a banner page every day. If you have a legitimate issue with something that is or is not being done by the corporation, fill out the form. It takes 2 seconds and it puts you in the queue. It gets it looked at. Nobody, the town, are not paying staff to sit and monitor Facebook comments. I'd just like to make that clear. So, yes, I wholeheartedly agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hicks. Deputy Mayor Calver.
Thank you, through your worship. Kylie, I got to echo what everybody else is saying. This is absolutely fantastic work. I love every aspect of it. And as for the comments on the social media, there is a pile of keyboard warriors out there. And believe it or not, nothing gets accomplished by having a disagreement or arguing on Facebook. If you want something done, you go on the report an issue, you fill out your E11, or hey, my phone number's everywhere. You got a problem, you call me. I don't care. You just don't put it on Facebook because nothing is going to get solved by venting on Facebook. So I agree, shut the comments off. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Calver. Is there anything else? Go ahead, Mr. Grant.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, just to add to that, the idea about comments as well. One of the responsibilities we have as an organization is to ensure that places that we host, whether it be virtual or in person, are safe and welcoming. And we need to do whatever we can to ensure that we meet that responsibility. And that's also something behind this, that if we don't have the ability to ensure that something is safe and welcoming, then we do have an obligation to do something about that. And that's one of the drivers behind that.
Great, thanks, Mr. Grant. Go ahead, Dave.
Thank you, worship, through you. So now I got my thoughts back again. We're talking about the website and making search engines easier. Way back, there was a saying that if you click more than 3 times, then you lost interest. Is that still the way things are nowadays?
Through your worship. Yes, but it's very hard to do. And given that we do have a municipal website, there is a lot of information on it. Like it's nearly impossible. There's some areas where yes, it is 3 clicks, but once you might get down to the garbage and recycling page, and then you might get down to the waste disposal sites, and it gets out of 3 clicks very fast. So that's hence why we're trying to improve the search bar. So it doesn't take so many clicks. They can just use the search bar.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Dave. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Calver.
Thank you. And with that, Kylie, I put it on a report earlier today, and it was probably one of the easiest ones I've done. So there is some work being done, I think, in the background, because sometimes I find it a little frustrating going through it, but today was just click, 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 done, problem solved. And again, I want to thank you for all the work you're doing.
Thanks, Brian. Is there anything else? Seeing none, I'll just weigh in quite briefly, Kylie. It's been extremely refreshing having you in the main office there to help guide me through some stuff, right? So this is an extremely aggressive and productive process that you've taken on, and we've already started to reap the rewards of it, I think. One of the things that we probably didn't do very good was to communicate with the public, and I think we're now a leading government agency in doing that. So we've come a long way, and I think we're well on our way to becoming very successful at doing what we're doing, and you deserve a lot of the credit for that. So thank you. And I'm going to tell the funny story that I brought to you today is that I got an email request to comment on the Napanee barn that was for sale, and it was an organization that was associated to Fox News. When I checked the young lady that sent it to me, she was out of Indiana. And so I very graciously, with the advice of Kylie, sent her back an email saying, I don't think it's Napanee, Ontario you're looking for. It was Napanee, Indiana. So it was kind of a cute story anyway. So obviously she was looking to do it and she wanted to do an interview and I said, I don't think I'm the guy to do it. So in any event, thank you, Kylie, for the work that you've done in this. And I'm going to agree with all of what council has said is that we're moving at light speed with this and we're doing a very marvelous job, in my humble opinion, of communicating. And that's really what our job is, to communicate with the public. So thank you for that. So is there anything else? Councilor Hicks.
Very quickly, the mandate letter to the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board is a fantastic addition to the partnership. And I think it was long overdue, and it's very clear and very concise. And so, and I know that the board as a whole for Bay of Quinte appreciates it. And I think they may be looking at implementing that with the other partners. So we were leaders in this one. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Ange. Is there anything else? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation that council receive for information the Executive Services Draft Corporate Communication Strategy, and further that council direct staff to bring back the final version of the strategy based on council feedback to the July 22nd regular session of council. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Hicks. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? The motion is carried. Next up, Executive Services response to County of Lennox and Addington land request. And I think just before we get into that, Mr. Grant, I think we'll take a 10-minute break. We're at that legislative 8:30 time, and I think we should take that 10-minute break. So we'll see you back at about 8:40. Great. Welcome back, everyone. Moving on through the agenda, we're going to deal with executive services response to the County of Lennox Addington land request. Mr. Grant, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as council will recall, in September of 2024, we did receive a request from the County of Lennox and Addington to consider the donation of land towards an affordable housing project. An official letter came following staff discussions that centered on the former Sutter Lands subdivision for approximately a 2.3 acre parcel of land, which was relayed to me was originally brought to the county's attention by a former staff member at the town. In those conversations, you know, the county mentioned that they were looking to build a 40+ unit affordable housing complex, and that they were looking for the town to waive development charges as well as make the land a donation. We did at that time indicate that we would not be in a position to comment or to be able to make a decision on that request until such time that our land inventory had been completed. And as that meeting was a short time ago, we are now in a position to address this item on the council resolution tracker. So at a high level, you know, when I take a look at this, I have a few observations and recommendations for council. So I think that, you know, the Development Charges Act already provides an automatic contribution by the municipality by waiving development charges by legislation. So that would be something that we would be providing any developer of affordable housing projects. I would suggest that in terms of the real estate that was discussed, I don't know that that would be the real estate that we would want to consider for this particular project, as it is one of the main parcels of developable land that I know Mr. Nobes and I have discussed, and it is its highest value is to sell in a block, and I think we have an obligation to sell it for the best and highest value. We don't have a mandate for affordable housing. So I don't know that providing a contribution that would be upwards of $800,000 with land sale and development charges in, I don't think that's something that we can afford, candidly, to be able to contribute. I do think that there are some options, but I think the first option that we should discuss with the County of Lennox and Addington is a location that they have on Camden Road that would accommodate on land already, and it's already zoned for it, that has enough for a 2,300 square meter building envelope, which would accommodate anywhere from 40 to 60 units. I think that would be the most appropriate place, and I think it's the appropriate place to start with that parcel of property, given that there would be no contribution or donation that would be required. Now, if for whatever reason that particular parcel was inappropriate for that kind of development, I would suggest that we, council directs staff to sit down with the County of Lennox and Addington with some of the surplus lands that have been made available and offer the county right of first refusal on those lands. So while it wouldn't go to a competitive bidding process, it should be sold to the county at fair market value or a reasonable value. That we would obviously follow the Development Charges Act by waiving any development charges that would accompany a development of that size. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. I'll go to Councilor Pennell.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, Mr. Grant, thank you very much for this. Although that the town doesn't have a mandate to provide this type of housing, I still want to be involved in this project somehow, you know, because they are, it is providing housing to residents of Napanee. So it's very important for us to stay active in this, and I agree, maybe not necessarily that particular piece of land for sure. But I like your statement of saying, well, we can sit down with them and look at some other lands that we have. My initial question is, did the county ever convey to you why they didn't look in their own backyard first with the land that they do have on Camden Road, and why they didn't look at that first, other than going and asking for the other parcel on the Suddard subdivision?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Pennell. So at the time of the request was made, no, I don't know why that wasn't considered. Since then, I do understand through correspondence with the CEO of the county that that particular land has been suggested for an initiative by the Eastern Wardens Caucus, who is pursuing some degree of affordable housing as a group, and I believe that particular parcel has been recommended for that initiative.
Okay, thank you. Isn't that a little bit kind of the same thing we're talking about, though? Affordable housing?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Pennell, I would say what we were asked for was a specific parcel of land for a specific number of units that would be owned by the county of Lennox and Addington and run by them. I think that the initiative for the Eastern Wardens Caucus at present is not necessarily shaped or defined. So I would say, to my understanding with the information I have at present, that the county's thinking around the development of affordable housing is a bit more advanced in the planning stages and thinking than the larger sort of Eastern Wardens Caucus initiative.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Pennell. Thank you, Mr. Grant. Deputy Mayor Calver.
Thank you. Through your word, Councillor Pennell. I think the reason they didn't originally look at their Camden Road property that they own is because they were offered this other piece of land possibly by a former employee. And I think that's why it was originally being looked at over there versus on land they already own. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Calvert. Is there anything else, any other comments or questions of Mr. Grant? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation that the council receive for information the Executive Services response to the County of Lennox and Addington Land Request Report. The council declined the county's request to offer land in the former Suddard subdivision land parcel. The council directs staff to discuss the potential of the county developing their own lands in the urban core area of Greater Napanee. That council directs staff to explore other town-owned parcels of land in Greater Napanee's urban core with the County of Lennox and Addington to offer the county the right of first refusal to purchase the land for the affordable housing development, and that council authorize staff to remove the resolution 42624 from the council resolution tracker. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Next matter, Executive Services Advisory Committee's membership recommendations. And Mr. Grant, you're up again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And so this was a follow-up to when we brought forward the advisory committee bylaw. I did commit to council to give some thinking about the makeup of advisory committees and make a recommendation to council for their consideration. Council will be aware that currently our advisory committee, they range in number and size. There was room for greater clarity, and I think we've achieved that through the steps that we've taken about how they're made up. Particularly, I think the Waste Management Committee, I think there was a great deal of work that was done there. But as I take a look towards the future of advisory committees, my recommendations to council would be have a consistent, I think we need a consistent number of members on committees. I think 7 is that number, not the least of which that one of the committees has a mandated number. But I think council member in, I think 7 is an appropriate number. I would do our best to limit to the extent possible. Members should be on a committee. I would not say multiple committees would be advisable because you want to get as many opinions and ideas as possible. And I think that would be something that we would want to consider. I do think that for staff liaison role, which is an integral role, that appropriately would sit at the management level for a number of reasons. But one would be a cost reason that we've already built into our cost structure, things that represent after hours obligations of management staff. Non-management staff, rightly and by our compensation structure, should and would be eligible for overtime. And I think limiting this to a management level would provide the appropriate level of expertise, and it would also be cost effective for the town as a whole. I would say that the recruiting process for advisory committee members in the vetting process, which I would recommend, we would more clearly articulate as we move forward, but that it prioritize relevant experience in the recruitment process for the specific areas that we're looking at, and particularly the mandate items that are in that specific mandate letter for the advisory committee for that session. And I don't at this point recommend that we make any changes to the advisory committee process at present. And the membership, I think that would be disruptive mid-mandate, but I do think that this is something we should forward to the incoming council in 2026 for their consideration based on the experience that we've had in changes that we've made to date and observations we've had and how best to make advisory committees successful.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Grant. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Calver.
Thank you, through your worship. Yeah, I agree with everything that Mr. Grant is saying. I did see that the council training sessions and for advisory committees be paid for through the council training budget. So being that it's possible we could have some new council coming in 2026 that may want to attend other functions as well. Just make sure there's enough money in that budget to cover that. I don't know what's there or how much we use or don't use, but if we're going to be adding training sessions to be paid for out of the council's training budget for new committee members, we want to just make sure we're covering everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Calver. Go ahead, Mr. Grant.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor, I would agree with that, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I think, one, I think the training is both necessary and effective for advisory committee members in setting them up for success, particularly with things like Robert's Rules of Order. And I also think that the council training budget is there for a reason, and that if we're going to add net new obligations to that budget, I think that there should be some consideration. And I don't think it will be a major amount of money, but I think there should be consideration at some point of ensuring that cost center is reflected.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Councilor Brunel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you, Mr. Grant, with recommendation number 4. If you're going to vet the applications and weight, score them and stuff, would council still be provided with the full list of people who have applied for that position?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Purnell, yes, would be my intention that you would be provided with that. I think that there would be, it would be similar to the scoring sheet we brought forward for the Community Initiatives Fund Advisory Committee. Just having sort of a scoring sheet that council would be provided with all the candidates, that you would be provided with them in a ranked order from what our recommendations would be, and that the ultimate decision would be, as it is now, in the hands of council, and you would have the full list of those that had applied with the benefits of upfront vetting that had been performed.
Okay, thank you. And just one more question. Again, later on in the agenda, there's a bylaw that is asking to be approved, and it goes on and talks about the committees and who staff representation will be whether it be a manager or somebody that they want, and the number of committee members. So this is something that will be approved tonight, possibly approved tonight, but then possibly changed for the new incoming council. Is that correct? So,
Madam Clerk, I think wants to weigh in there. Go ahead, Jess.
Sorry, through your worship, just as a point of clarification, and I apologize for not having a report on this on consent agenda. That bylaw is just to approve the addition of the new Community Initiatives Fund Committee, which council approved at the last meeting. That's the only change that's being made at this time with that bylaw.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Pennell. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there anything else? We do have a recommendation that council receive for information the Executive Services Advisory Committee Membership Recommendation Report, and further that council endorse the 4 recommendations contained within the report and direct that they be provided as a recommendation to the next term of council as recommended changes to the advisory committee's bylaw, and further that council direct the resolution 059/25 be removed from the resolution tracker. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Hicks. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, go ahead, Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, through you, your worship. I am in total agreement in principle. I do have a question about the resolution tracker. So this is going to be brought forward to the new incoming council in 2026. Just as a, well, I'm just wondering if we can amend the resolution to say we've done X, but it's, there is a date in the resolution tracker for November, December of 2026, that this is brought forward to the new incoming council, whoever that may be, so that it stays at the forefront, because at that point you will be talking about advisory committees. So, yeah, it's just a thought that maybe the resolution stay there, but just be amended.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
So if I may, through your worship, the resolution that's recommended to be taken off is earlier this year, because it was in the staff recommendation, but there was an element of that motion that staff would report back prior to the end of this term of council with their recommendations. So that piece is now resolved with this. These are those recommendations. Came sooner than the end of this term of council. I know that the CAO wants to work on an improvement to the resolution tracker for time-bound motions so that they don't sit there and stare at us all for the next 18 months, but that we have a system as staff to make sure that when it is the appropriate time, that does come back up and doesn't get missed. If that helps.
That works. I'm good. Thank you.
Great.
I love it.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Hicks. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there anything else? Go ahead, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. Matthew, the more I get thinking about this and your vetting system and so, and Councillor Pennell pointed out, is it still going to come back to council, the ones that apply? And the other thing that concerns me is when you're looking at, you want diversity and different views, where a lot of times we only get 2 or 3, 4 people applying when we're asking for committee members. So we don't always have a wide range of people applying. So I just think we got to be careful and not say hard and fast rules. You know, that was it was just something that came to my head while I'm sitting there.
Go, Matthew.
So to you, Mr. Mayor, and to Councilor Martin, I agree. I think that we should seek to have a wide variety of people interested and diversity. And if there's not that level of interest, council will be provided with the list of people that applied for that, and you would choose from that list. And if we didn't get enough people that were sort of interested in a specific advisory committee, we would have to go out again. Sorry, just to add to that, and with the list of, I guess, criteria, what we would look for is, you know, do you have volunteer experience? Are you a resident of the town? Do you have experience in the specific area or the area of the mandates that would enable you to provide a certain level of advice to members of council and expertise? Because that's what we're seeking. And so any recommendations to members of council would reflect that level of expertise in what we saw, but it certainly does not obligate you to choose one individual over another, only that you would understand that some work has been done on the application, which would include, on the intake side of things, asking for a bit more information upfront, which is our intention to do.
Thank you. Yeah, I like that explanation. The other thing is, if you're going to limit people to only one committee, sometimes I find too that those people who volunteer, they're the most active in the community and they're gung-ho to work on several committees. So I just hate hard and fast rules on that as well, but that's just my feelings on it.
Great. Thanks, Bill. Councillor Hicks.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. I think by asking for specific interests, background, and for lack of a better word, qualifications, you will actually get more people because they will look at this as an opportunity. It's not just a, for lack of a better term, wishy-washy, it's just a bit of fluff and, oh, we go meet once a month. We're asking them to participate and provide real concrete solutions, advice, et cetera, based on their knowledge, education, background, prior work experience. And I think you'll see that you will get people who are really quite interested in it. And they may see this as a potential stepping stone to, I'm going to sit on a couple of advisory committees and then, hey, maybe I'm going to run for council. And, new blood, as somebody pointed out on Facebook this week, new blood is going to be appreciated and looked for. So I like the way it's been set up and that council does ultimately have the final decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hicks. Is there anything else? Mr. Grant.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll just to add to Councillor Hicks' comments. One of the things that I would say is the steps that council has taken thus far in terms of mandate letters, in terms of a bylaw, you're asking members of the community to do real and meaningful things. An example I'll use from this evening is the Market Square Advisory Committee, where you have asked and entrusted members of the community to collect community input on the renovation of a heritage building, our premier heritage building, and to give you advice on how best to consider the community's needs in that area. We have a farmer's market out back that was based on advice that we received from a committee. So the better the advice that we can get would be, really appreciated. And I appreciate there's a lot of advisory committees out there in different communities where it may not offer a real opportunity to participate, and this isn't that.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Is there anything else? Seeing none, I know we have a motion on the floor, Madam Clerk. If there's nothing else, we'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motion that's on the floor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Community events application, guitars and cars. Mr. Brown's going to speak to that. So whenever you're ready, Chris, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. So staff have received another community event application for guitars and cars. If you recall, at regular session of council on March 25th, council noted and received a deputation from Tiffany Lloyd regarding the Guitars and Cars community event. At that time, the community events policy wasn't passed yet. It has since been approved. And so I'm following up after the application was submitted. Guitars and Cars is a free, family-friendly street festival organized by Greater Napanee Connect that transforms downtown into a pedestrian-only celebration of classic cars, live music, local shopping, and community spirit. Beyond entertainment, Guitars and Cars has a history of giving back. In 2019, they donated over $1,000 raised at the event to the Lennox and Addington County General Hospital's CT scan fund, and they hope to do the same this year. The Napanee Legion will also be on site serving burgers and hot dogs. The event will take place on Saturday, September 20th from 10 to 2 in the downtown core, specifically on Dundas Street from East to Robert, excluding Center Street, and John Street from Water to Market Square. Setup will start early in the morning, like 6 a.m. One of the main things that staff was looking at with this application was the road closures. They had a number of people meeting, including the OPP and members of the Napanee Valley Cruisers over the road closure itself. So they've done a lot of work there preparing for that. Staff don't have any concerns. We will provide some extra garbage cans downtown, and we do have a plan to do an additional waste collection to make sure that the garbage downtown aren't overflowing. We will have the portable toilets at Market Square available for them, but we also have the farmers market going on the same day and culture days. So they are going to bring in some additional portable units to put down on Dundas Street. The target audience, classic car enthusiasts, live music fans, families and neighborhood groups, shoppers, community supporters, tourists, and day trippers. So it's certainly going to be a happening place here on September 20th, and with all three events kind of happening around the downtown core, which I think is amazing. And again, just kudos to Tiffany and the work that the Greater Napanee Connect have done. If I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
Great, thanks, Chris. Is there any questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Hicks.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. So here's my question about communications and publicity. So this is a big event for the town. I realize that this is being done by a nonprofit, but it is community driven and it's to benefit the community. Can we publicize this on our social medias and on our website? And can we also ensure, and I'm going to look over to Kylie on this, can we ensure that the Bay of Quinte Marketing Board is well aware of this event and that they are promoting the heck out of it? Not just this event, but culture days and the market. I think in the summer, a lot of people experience event fatigue. There's a lot going on every weekend and you have to pick and choose. And this is just fantastic. We have 3 things happening right in our town where you can get a taste of different events. You get the farmers market, culture days, which I think will be happening, some of it at Conservation Park as well, and then downtown. So I'm thrilled that this is happening. I'll move staff recommendation, as a matter of fact, while I have the mic.
Thank you, Councillor Hicks. We'll let Mr. Grant answer the questions that you have, and then we'll look for a motion and see if there's any other conversations.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I would say the appropriate way to support this event would be through the Bay of Quinte Marketing Board. I wouldn't necessarily say we would do it through our own channels, or we might mistake people that it's our event and we're owning the event, but we do have the horsepower behind reaching out to broader audiences through the Bay of Quinte Marketing Board that has a fairly large reach, and we would absolutely make sure that they're aware and it's on their event calendar and they're promoting it.
Thank you. Along with our own culture days, of course, and farmers market. Thank you.
And I'm sure that the Naturally LNA organization will take interest in promoting it as well, because it helps them as well. So Councillor Hicks is going to move staff recommendation. Do we have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Calvary, is there any other comments, questions, or concerns? I'm just going to comment briefly on it. September 20th. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bill. Then I'll go.
Thank you. Just curious, where the events are taking place, are all these streets going to be closed?
So through your worship, the Center Street will remain open, so north-south. There'll be commissionaires as part of the event there, monitoring that. The Public Works Department, Town of Greater Napanee, will be setting up the road closures early in the morning. So the municipal road, John Street, will be closed. And then the Dundas Street it's an application through the county to close the road. So does that answer your question?
Well, not exactly, and maybe not a big deal, but how do you get from Water Street to John Street? Do you mean Mill Street? Mill Street?
Is that, yes,
Because Water
yes,
Street's.
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. That was one of the things that just didn't add up in my head here, but, so Dundas Street is going to be closed or open in areas?
Dundas Street from, what is it, Robert, all the way over to East will be closed, except for like Center Street will be remaining as a north-south travel.
Okay, so, okay. Thanks, Chris. I got you.
Great, thanks, Bill. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Is there anything else? Brief comment, quick comment. I just want to bring attention that September 20th is what we have all strove to accomplish in this municipality. We've got the community as a whole, all pitching in to promote our absolutely marvelous community. We've got a nonprofit, Napanee Connect, who, and many may not know, but I think the Napanee Valley Cruisers are going to assist them with the car show, which is absolutely marvelous. The Legion's involved in it. I'm sure that the downtown folks are going to do their part as far as the businesses go. It's what we strove for. This is what we wanted, and it's absolutely refreshing to see our municipality bond together to make this the best municipality in the province. And so I'm excited about it. And anybody that has the opportunity to get downtown on the 20th of September, I think you really should go, because I think it's going to be something very special. So thank you to all those that are involved in this. Thank you to all those that have done the hard work to make this thing happen, and for making our municipality the great municipality that it is. So sorry about that. Had to go on a little bit, but Madam Clerk, we do have a motion on the floor. If there's nothing else, we'll call the question. All in favor of the motion that's on the floor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Next up, Parks, Recreation and Culture Service Levels Update. Mr. Brown, that's you as well, so go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So this is a bit of an interim report before I report back on July 22nd, but I just wanted to reiterate that staff are prepared to receive potential changes to the service levels that was presented last meeting by way of notice of motion from council. Staff will investigate any operational or financial implications to those service level changes and report back to you at the next regular session. Attached to the staff report is the template that everybody received, where you can write down your request to amend the existing service levels. And then I just thought I'd take this opportunity to provide a little bit of, I guess, recommendation from staff's perspective on a couple ways that we could potentially look at changing service levels. And I know it's been talked about in open session before. Limit the amount of grass cutting completed by park staff by contracting out some properties. And I want to be very clear that town staff would still be primarily focused on parks, sports fields, town buildings and facilities, cemeteries. Some of the properties that we'd be looking to contract out, if that was the wish of council, would be ones that aren't, parks or town facilities, properties that we're just cutting the grass to make sure it doesn't get overgrown. So not places where the public would generally go to, have a picnic or anything like that. So that is something that we can look into a little bit further and find out how many of those properties do qualify, and then cost out those properties. The other one that I would like to sort of throw out there is the extension of our seasonal employment by 1 month. So currently we hire 2 seasonal staff. They're hired each year in the Parks Department for a 6-month contract from May to October. Historically, April has been a very challenging month for the department. In April, we still have both ice rinks operating at the arena, which means that time spent opening up the parks, spring cleanup, and getting the grass cut, it's very limited for us. And so we struggle with transitioning from the arena operations to get outside. Oftentimes, it's not till May that we really attack the parks, and by then it's almost too late with the way the seasons are these days. So one way to combat this would be to just extend by 1 month and hire them from April to October. Of course, that would come with an additional expense on the budget. And so I'm prepared to look at ways that we can, counter that with some savings elsewhere. But those are just two recommendations that I thought I would mention. And I do, I'm available for questions, feedback, further direction from council on the service levels. Happy to take those now or soon.
Thanks, Chris. Is there any questions or comments? Go ahead, Ange.
Thank you, through you, your worship. Chris, extending the seasonal employment. So this is primarily to get people outside on mowers, trimmers, rakes, shovels, whatever is needed for town properties. Now, is that sports fields? Is that cemetery? Like, is it everything? And is it those two people that you're looking to extend from April into April? Is that something that could be contracted out in the month of April? Like if you had a contractor blitz it in April to at least get that head start on all those properties? Not the fine tuning so much, but just the initial cuts and raking, whatever else had to be done. Just, I'd like to know what the difference in cost would be versus headcount versus contracting.
Yeah, through your worship. So I do believe that extending those seasonal employees would be more cost effective than hiring out, just because it really is everything. In April, you have to remember that both ice pads are operational, so our staff are still on their shift schedule. So they're working a couple evenings every week in the arena, which limits their day shifts to 3. So they're only available to me to be out in the parks doing, leaf raking, park cleanups, opening up washroom buildings, things like that. So because they're in the arena for 2 evenings, they're only working the 3-day shift. So we just find in April that we're kind of chasing our tail a little bit. We'd like to get the parks opened up sooner. We'd like to get the picnic tables out. We'd like to do a cut or 2 before the students start in May. But right now we're finding it just difficult in terms of resources. The 2 seasonals, when they start in May, it's the same time as the students. And so what we receive is like a breath of fresh air in May because we have lots of additional help. If we were to able to get a little bit of that help in April, we would be just that much further ahead. So just a thought on ways that we could potentially tweak the service levels. Ultimately, council's decision.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hicks. Go ahead, Councillor Martin, then I'll go to Deputy Mayor Grauber.
Thank you, Mayor. Chris, are these full-time, part-time positions? Like, they're not students, right?
Through your worship. So no, the seasonal contract employees are just that, a 6-month contract employee. So they are not full-time employees. So when October ends, their contract ends and they're no longer with us through the winter. And then we hire 2 seasonals annually.
So these positions, are they the same people every year?
Through your worship, no, not necessarily. They have to reapply each year, go through the interview process and the hiring process.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Bill. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, through your worship. Chris, I have to agree with you extending it out 1 month. I see what happens and takes place. Everything's sooner. I mean, we used to have snow in April. We don't have snow in April. We've got flowers and grass growing. And when you've got half your staff tied up still at the arena, it makes perfect sense and total sense to me. So when that comes forward, I definitely would be in support of that. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Grauber. I'm going to agree with you on that because with the changing seasons, I mean, let's face it, you're absolutely right. We're cutting a whole lot more grass in April than we ever have, and I don't see that changing in the near future. So, sorry. Is there anything else before I comment? Seeing nothing, Chris, I agree with you. I think you've done a marvelous job with respect to the service levels. I like the way you're thinking with respect to the potential changes that you've suggested, and I'd like to see you bring those back. I know that you've been bouncing some things around to try and find out how we're going to pay for that, and I think there's some good ideas there. So I want to thank you for all the hard work on this, and I know you're juggling a lot of balls at a lot of time, and April is, you've added a couple more balls to try and juggle. So thank you for doing that. And we look forward to seeing a further report on the 22nd of July. Is there anything else? If not, we do have a recommendation that council receive for information Parks, Recreation, Culture Service Levels Update Report, and further that council introduce suggested service level changes by way of notice to motion, and further that I think what I'm hearing from council, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that we look forward to Mr. Brown bringing back a report with more details on the 22nd of July meeting with respect to your ideas of your changes to the service levels. And Madam Clerk will probably word that a whole lot better than I am, but I'm thinking that's what the will of council is, at least what I'm hearing anyway. And do you have what you need, Madam Clerk? I know it's sort of pieced together, but does everybody understand what the motion is? If not, we can get Madam Clerk to read it there. Everybody understands it? Perfect. We haven't got to move or second there, though, do we? We'll look for somebody to move and second it. Moved by Councillor Pennell, seconded by Councillor Hicks. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns with respect to the motion that's on the floor? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Executive Services Encampment Protocol Review. I see Madam Clerk heading to the front. So Jess, whenever you're ready, the floor will be yours. Thanks, Chris.
So through your worship, this report is sort of a preliminary to the more detailed report that we intend to bring you to the meeting in August. When we introduced the Parks Bylaw and Encampment Protocol, we committed to reporting back to council and the community after a season in use on any identified areas that were working well, any challenges, any potential improvements. As part of that, because we had extensive public involvement in drafting this, we want to make sure the public is involved in the review of how it is working. So we're looking to do some community engagement through the summer. There is a proposal for what that survey might look like attached to this report. But if council would like to see any different engagement on that, we would certainly welcome that feedback. I can respond to some high-level questions about our encampment response as well, but do intend to bring more detailed information to you later this summer.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any questions or comments for Jessica with respect to her report or her presentation? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation that council receive for information Executive Services Encampment Protocol Review Report, and further that council endorse the proposed survey attached to this report. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Martin. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns? See Councillor Hicks.
Through you, your worship. Jessica, with two municipal bylaw enforcement officers now on staff full-time, what is your take on the engagement with the community? Like, are they being approached by citizens? Have they been asked questions? I'm just looking for a sense of, because I'm sure they're much more, they're very visible. Good job on the truck, by the way. But yeah, I'm just looking for, is the community as a whole, the people that are out and about in the community interacting with the municipal bylaw officers, asking questions, looking for information, et cetera, not just the unhoused?
So through your worship, from what I have heard from discussions with our officers, they are regularly interacting with residents particularly when they are in the downtown core and when they're walking through Springside and Conservation Park. Fairly regular interactions with residents. And the comments that they have been getting is that there is an appreciation. A few people have commented, "Oh, I didn't know we had bylaw officers." So apparently the visual distinction is being noticed. I only have anecdotes to give you, unfortunately.
That's all I was looking for, was some anecdotal, because I appreciate the weekly reports we're getting. I'd also like to state that I, as a member of council, appreciate that information coming to me weekly. I just feel like I'm more aware of what's going on because I don't live right in Napanee. So I might be 3 days before I drive through town. So having that information is very helpful. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hicks. Is there anything else? Seeing none, we do have a motion on the floor, so we'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motion's on the floor. Opposed, motion's carried. Next matter, Executive Services Grass Bylaw Amendment. And you're going to speak to that as well, Jess?
Yeah, so through your worship, this is, I apologize for the delay in getting this in front of you, but on review, we have not updated the rates in this bylaw since 2013 when we had staff doing the work. So we are just looking for a bylaw amendment as attached on this agenda, hoping to get it passed tonight that would repeal those rates and replace it with comparable language to our yards bylaw that property owners will be billed for the cost that the town incurs to have the work done, whatever that cost may be. There's no administrative premium, but there's no loss to the town either.
Great, thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any questions or comments? Councillor Hicks.
I know I'm full of them tonight. Thank you, through your worship. What is the time frame on combining the yards and grass cutting bylaws into one? I'm in favor of what you're proposing tonight, and I understand there have been a lot of more pressing issues in front of you and council. Just looking for an idea when you would be bringing it back.
So through your worship, we will be doing a detailed review this summer of the outstanding items on the resolution tracker and making sure we prioritize those first. If there is any leftover capacity in our department over the winter when we no longer have encampments taking up and long grass taking up all the time, it's certainly something we would like to do, but we do need to make a realistic assessment of what's still outstanding on the resolution tracker first.
More than fair enough. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Councillor Hicks. Is there anything further? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation that council receive for information the Executive Services Grass Cutting Bylaw Amendment Report, and further that council adopt a bylaw amendment to update the rates in Schedule B of the bylaw as presented at this meeting. Moved by Councillor Hicks, seconded by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. We're getting late. Bylaws. First matter is bylaw number 2025-0054 to amend dog control bylaw 2024-0055. And I think we spoke to this on the 24th of June meetings. We'll look for a motion to put it on the floor. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, second by Councilor Martin. Ready first, second, and finally passed this 8th day of July, 2025. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Bylaw number 2025-0055 to amend advisory committees bylaw number 2024-0076. Motion to put on the floor, Councillor Hicks, seconded by Councillor Martin. Ready first, second, and finally passed this 8th day of July 2025. Sorry, before we pass, did you want to speak to it? No? All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. I'm getting good at catching things out of the corner of my eye now. Bylaw number 2025-0056 to amend grass cutting bylaw number, the bylaw, grass cutting bylaw. Yeah. Look for a motion to put it on the floor. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, second by Councillor Martin. Ready first, second, and finally passed this 8th day of July, 2025. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Information reports from members. Are there any information reports any members would like to share with us this evening? Seeing none, inquiries. Do any members of council have any inquiries they would like to make? Seeing none, notice of motions. Is there any notice of motions anyone would like to make? Seeing none. New business. Is there any new business? Seeing none. Announcements. Is there any members of council would like to make any announcements this evening? Councillor Pennell.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I just want to say how the Canada Day festivities went. So it was fantastic. The fireworks show once again was fantastic. It always amazes me how long somebody will stand in line for popcorn. And this year we had the addition of cotton candy, which was also a great addition. But it's just, when you see stuff like this and the amount of people that came out, it just goes with what you were saying, Mr. Mayor, about the event downtown for the guitars and cars. It's just amazing to see people come out and enjoy this community. So for everybody that was involved to put that day on, I just want to say thanks. It was a greatly run event. Thank you.
Well said, and thank you, Councillor Pennell. And I got to admit, the pancakes and sausages were pretty good in the morning too. So, is there anything else? Okay, seeing none, CEO's remarks. Mr. Grant, did you have any other remarks you'd like to add to this evening? The forward calendar, I know that we've all had an opportunity to look at the forward calendar and the council resolution tracker. Is there anything in those two documents anyone would like to speak to? Seeing none, and I know that I've had some conversations with Mr. Grant and Madam Clerk that we're going to work very, very diligently to try and work on the resolution tracker to try and see if we can get some of those matters cleaned up. So again, it may be a bit of a Herculean task to get there, but we're going to do our best. So, and I thank staff for looking into that. Finally, we look for a motion for a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the town of Greater Napanee. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, second by Councillor Martin. Ready first, second, and finally passed this 8th day of July 2025. All in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried, and a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Hicks, second by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks, folks. Another productive evening, and we got through a lot of work tonight. So thanks, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.